Hey, and welcome to a snapshot into the world of RS components and Design Spark and what we can do to help you as budding engineers and technologists to further your careers and exploit the most of the opportunities around you. I'm Isabella Mascarenhas, VP of Grassroots Education at RS, and I'm joined by a few colleagues here today who we'll do the rounds of and do some introductions to. Over to you, Kudzai.
Hi guys, my name is Kudzai Mandivi. I work in corporate sales and I look after the education sector, so all schools, colleges, universities. And what does that mean in layman's language? So it just means that I spend a lot of time listening to educators and students from the different institutions and just try to find out what your needs are, what the educators' needs are. And I basically take all this information around the stuff you need and take it back to our business so we can try and actually develop solutions and give you guys the stuff that you guys need. Over to you, Tim.
Thank you, Kudzai. Yeah, my name is Tim Beasley. I'm the Apprenticeship Program Manager at RS Component. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Tim. Hi all, I'm Mike Bray. I lead Design Spark as part of a group innovation function. Design Spark, if you don't already know it, is our design engineering community and platform that's built around a community of engineers from undergraduate level through to professional engineering and those who are approaching the end of their careers and that wanted to give back. And it's 10 years old. It reached 10 last October. We're now over 1 million members, and we'll be talking a lot more about how that can help you in terms of your future career development, including how we work with Grassroots, which Isabella can talk more around.
Yeah, so what is grassroots education, and rather random titles? So we do all of the kind of value-added services around the edges for students and young professionals. We do STEM outreach, we have STEM ambassadors in the company, we do volunteering opportunities, competitions, challenges, employability skills training, all of the things around the edges of your studies that will hopefully allow you to be the brightest, shiniest version of yourself.
So RS Apprenticeships, they've been really successful over the last few years. We were nominated within the top 100 UK apprenticeship employers last year. Now 2020 we were nominated, became 27th, which was fantastic considering that as a business 3 years ago when I joined we had one apprentice in the business. So we've come leaps and bounds with this, and it all comes down to our apprenticeship strategy that was put in place. Every single apprentice that we've recruited so far that's graduated has found a permanent place within RS. So what positions are we talking about at RS that we really struggled to recruit for? One example that really stood out to me was software engineering. Now, as a department, we really struggled to find local talent that was skilled in software engineering. And we'd bring in contractors that we'd pay a very expensive day rate to, and it was unsustainable really. So we sacrificed some of the headcount that we used for contractors, and we started to employ some apprentices as software engineers. And every single one of them, like I say, has now found a position as an associate software engineer once their apprenticeship completed. So at the end of it, they achieved a degree in software engineering. They've gained at least 2 years experience within the business and different parts of the business, and they've got their first step onto a career in a job that we really need. So it's unlikely that they're ever going to face a redundancy in the near future. And it's been really successful. And I'm really proud of what we've achieved with our apprenticeships. And
if I can just come in there, because Design Spark's been an area that's benefited from having apprenticeships within there. Not, I hasten to add, because we're a difficult department to recruit for. We're nothing of the kind. But what it did do was help bring in new skill sets to us. So we were looking at it from a viewpoint of, we've got lots of rich design data information that we can capture. We need people who can come along and understand and help us interpret that. And that opened up the route towards a data apprenticeship that we're able to bring a young lady called Erin Blount into. And Erin she's just been a superstar. She's absolutely smashed every target that we've set her. She's now a permanent member of the team, and she's taking on a whole new set of challenges around how we visualize and share our data across different parts of our business as well. So from what it's brought into RS yeah, through having apprenticeship routes open, I think the evidence is something that we can be really proud of.
It's a really good point as well, Mike, that you bring in, because one of the benefits to the business of apprenticeships is that we start to balance out the diversity issues that we have across different industries. So in software engineering, for example, if you walk through our software engineering departments, probably 90% male, whereas with our apprenticeships, they were 50-50 gender split, which was fantastic. And it was a real eye-opener to us at the benefit of doing that to us as a business as well, because it starts to even out us for the future and makes us a much more inclusive employer.
That's a really good thing to bring up, actually, Mike, because unbeknownst to you, Erin's being interviewed as one of our top young talent people to feature in the Engineering Your Career event as well.
Ah, cool. She's a superstar.
She's awesome. Yeah, agreed. Tim, I guess it'd be pretty useful to understand from a young person's perspective, what do you think is the benefit of them doing an apprenticeship versus going to uni perhaps, or a different route into engineering?
Yeah, well, I can talk about why they should do an RS apprenticeship, because not all employers adopt the same strategy with apprenticeships. So some of them will bring on very, very low level, entry level positions with an idea that they're surplus to requirement, and you might get landed with a lot of the donkey work. I'm not saying that you'll spend your whole apprenticeship making tea and doing the filing, but some businesses do that, unfortunately. At RS, because we looked at the roles that were critical to us as a business, the hiring managers for each of those departments had to sacrifice one of their headcount for an apprentice. Now, there's a real good benefit to this as for the apprentice, because that hiring manager has a vested interest in the success of that apprentice, that you're not surplus to requirement, you're not an extra headcount that then gets labeled as a free labor, because if you label something as free, it automatically loses its value. But because it's incorporated within the teams, the apprentices are very, very valued by the hiring managers, and they want the apprentices to succeed. Because of this and the roles that we're looking at, we tend to focus on degree level apprenticeships as well. So there's a financial benefit to the apprentices, because you come out with it out of your apprenticeship with the same degree that you would have had at university, but minus all the student debt and the lack of experience. So the worst case scenario with an apprenticeship at RS is you leave your apprenticeship with 2-3 years worth of valuable work experience and a degree and no debt. And just as a side point, some of our apprentices that we've recruited have gone on to get mortgages and buy houses while they've been an apprentice, because that's the sort of salaries that we pay and the value that we add to the apprenticeships.
I was talking to one of our apprentices the other day who's just bought himself a lovely Audi S3, which was definitely beyond the realms of what I could achieve when I was 19. So yeah, definitely some benefits there.
And just to touch on that point as well, Isabella, I was thinking about the benefits to us as a business, because I spoke earlier about us not just doing it because it's a nice thing to do, but we're doing it because we need to do it. And there's a three-pronged benefit to the business. There's the financial benefit, which speaks volumes to when you're talking to the chief financial officers and the finance guys around the business, because we're employing apprentices that are going to replace sometimes expensive contractors. So there's that cost saving, and we don't pay agency fees, etc., all of that stuff. There's a brand benefit. It looks good from the outside looking in that we take on apprentices, and we get a younger workforce and a younger workload. And the third benefit is that it solves the original problem that we're looking to solve. So if we had these positions around the business that we were struggling to recruit for, we get off that roundabout that where we were recruiting expensive individuals, keeping them for 6-12 months, and then them leaving, and then we had to then start again and recruit someone else, and we'd go through that painful 6 to 12 month recruitment process again. This way we grow an apprentice that perfectly fits the role that we've employed them for, because we've started from the ground up and grown them into that position. So it really does benefit us in those ways.
Is it worth you sharing some of the work you've been doing at local colleges just to support them on the apprenticeship schemes and stuff?
Because we've got the 6 ways of working across the business. which is things like aspiration, inspiration, all those types of things. We never mention qualification, and I'm really, really proud of that. We don't say that someone is only suitable for the role if they achieve this certain qualification. We're much more interested in what people are like as individuals, and we can give them the qualifications if we're saying that they're important later, but we can't train someone's personality, we can't train someone's character. So that's what we look for. When I go out to schools, I see a lot of downhearted young people that feel railroaded into certain careers. And as a side point, one of our software engineering apprentices, one of our female software engineering apprentices, Amy, started as an animal management degree. She went to university and started an animal management degree, realized it wasn't what she wanted to do. She quit after a year or two and then started working for RS as a software engineering apprentice. And she's fantastic at the moment, and she's managed to secure a role. So I do go out to the local schools. I do engage with as many young people as I can. And we try to encourage as many of those to apply for those positions that we've got as well. So we promote a lot of our roles over our social media channels, and we try to encourage as many people to apply as possible.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I work in corporate sales, and I absolutely love working in sales, primarily because a lot of what we do is just spend a lot of time talking to customers and just understanding customers' needs. I always tend to hear that your needs primarily revolve around 5 key things. So I think in terms of the support that you guys need in terms of understanding STEM and also widening participation, there's a need around getting value for money. So how do you manage to get more for your money? A need around efficiency. So how do the educators create more time for themselves to be able to support students? Then there's a need for innovation. So where do you get the innovation, like the innovative products? And also finally, the inspiration to actually go and push the boundaries of what is possible in terms of new products, new services, and all that sort of stuff. So how do we then take all those needs as a business and then translate them into things that we can help you guys with? So the most obvious thing is we're a distributor. So we stock all the right products. We make sure we've got all those cool development boards, all those cool robotic products, everything else. So the sort of things that you can actually build into your coursework and use to create new things and obviously meet your learning objectives, your learning outcomes. We do that at the right price, and we do give educational institutions a lot of discount terms so that you can actually get more for your money. And another way that we have helped students and educators more recently during COVID, we realized fairly early on when we started talking to the individual educators and students at the start of the COVID lockdown in March, that we're sort of moving towards a period where remote learning was becoming a thing. So students had to stay home or in residence and had to still find ways to cover the curriculum and still meet all their sort of learning objectives. So we quickly decided to do a number of different things to support students in this period. So we started to deliver stuff to students' homes. So university could order any product and get them delivered directly to the students' addresses, home addresses. We decided to create, in essence, a student kit or a lab kit, which in essence was like a lab in a box that we could then ship out to students and in essence replicate the lab environment at home and in a safe way as well. And that's just a couple of things we did. We also did a third thing, which is we actually created a student project fund. And I think, Isabella, this is probably best coming from you, just to share a bit about what we did there.
Sure. Yeah, so we kind of recognised that so many young people's learning experiences were so heavily disrupted by COVID. And we really wanted to help support those young engineers to keep tinkering and keep their projects alive while they were at home. So we quickly kind of pivoted to open up a little bit of a student project fund whereby young people could apply to us for up to £250 worth of components that we could send out to them at home to enable them to carry on those projects. It proved really popular. We have had over 50 entries for it so far, and we're really hoping to support at least 30 of those groups of young people with their student projects still.
We've actually introduced a really new and cool product called the Connect Point. And if I'm just trying to explain what a Connect Point is, it's like a standalone terminal with a touchscreen iPad on top and a light box underneath it. And these Connect Points, we've positioned them in maker spaces or hack spaces. So you've got all students coming into these hack spaces, doing their experiments, and if they come across a product they need and they're not quite sure what it is, they can go to the light box and put it inside, and it identifies what that product is. Or they actually have access to ordering new components, like instead of having to go out and go back to their labs, back to their computers, they basically have everything there, which has the effect of, I guess, creating a bit more time for you guys. So you can actually just focus on getting more done within that time you have within the hack space, and actually getting down to creating new cool tech that we all know and love. So that's just a couple of things I can talk about, but I know Isabella has lots of other stuff that she can share with you guys as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kuds. So around the edges of what you're studying and what you're doing with your technical skills, there's all sorts of other skills that need to be developed. And we're here to help you with those. And having worked at a couple of different places that have an engineering and technology focus, got a really good understanding of what employers are saying that they want from young people joining the workforce in an engineering and technology space. So primarily it's how can we help you to apply those technical skills that you're learning in a real world working environment. We have a number of different ways that we can do that. So for example, with the student project fund that we mentioned, there's a whole piece of work that we will do with you off the back of that to help you to create some great technical content off the back of your project. So that might be a blog, an article, a video, how we can help you to articulate that message and deliver some clear messaging back to the people that matter at your university or prospective employers. How do you talk about those technical skills? So that's one thing. We do employability skills training, which is hugely important and something that a lot of employers talk about. There being a little bit of a gap with young people. And it's one of those topics that's so often talked about, and everyone presumes that young people know what it means, but you know, it's everything from working effectively across cultures through to communication skills, being an effective member of a team, all of those kind of things. We actually run free webinar sessions for young people in universities and in colleges, and indeed in sixth forms, on all these topics, and they can attend any of these sessions, and we will run them bespoke for your class or for a subset of your class. That's another really important element of what we offer. Competitions and challenges. Everyone loves a challenge to get involved in and to test your technical skills, but again, all sorts of soft skills come off the edges of that. You know, how do you work with people in other disciplines? How do you work with people studying other things that replicate what a work experience environment looks like? So we do all of that stuff too. And we have some really cool volunteering opportunities that you can get involved with over here. We're very, very lucky to have a volunteering opportunity called the Fresh Advisors Board. It's a board of young people from all over the world at different stages of their studies and their early career, so that we can get them together, enhance their network, their ideas that they'd like to see a company like RS delivering. And just what an amazing opportunity. Off the back of it, we'll give certificates, reference letters, we can do LinkedIn recommendations, and it's all with a view to helping you to become that most rounded, employable individual as possible. So lots and lots to check out and to dip into. On the screen shortly you will see a URL taking you through to the RS Education web pages, where you'll see a bit more about this. And of course, where is all of this wonderful content hosted? Well, that would be in Design Spark, which is a lovely segue over to Mike.
Thanks, Iz. And thanks, Kudzai, as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Design Spark, just as an introduction. So I'm not going to assume everybody knows what Design Spark is. Design Spark is our design engineering community and platform. It's been set up on designspark.com. And it provides access to software, tools, resources, content, learning materials, projects, competitions, and a whole range of other pieces and content that people will want to investigate and explore as part of their journey to become an engineer, design a project, design a product, you build that product into something that is viable to take to market, and potentially in the future bring that out as part of their own business or part of a further business that they subsequently join. Design Spark today, if I give you some dimensions around that, Design Spark has every 4 seconds somebody consumes a piece of content on Design Spark. Every 12 seconds somebody is onto Design Spark downloading a piece of content or a resource that's going to help with their design. Every 20 seconds somebody opens one of our design tools. And every 2 minutes we see a new member join Design Spark. So we've now got an audience that is in the region of 1 million plus members, of whom just under 25% are from an education background, i.e. students or lecturers as well. So a great proportion of our membership are using Design Spark as a base for their education and learning. And the reason they're doing that is because our CAD software, first of all, it's free. Yeah, and if I didn't mention it before, I'll mention it again. It's free. You don't need to pay for it because it's free. And it works across PCB level. So we've got Design Spark PCB for anybody who's doing electronics engineering. We have Design Spark Mechanical for mechanical CAD engineers. And we have Design Spark Electrical, which is a freemium version of products that's out there for anybody who's doing electrical CAD engineering. And those are the 3 big engineering disciplines that people will tend to move towards from a design engineering perspective. What they will do with those, and the reason why students find that the software piece is very popular, is that it gives them control over their designs. So they can track their projects through, they're not tied into anything that's gated or lost beyond university. They can take the projects with them through their career and into a professional learning environment or into a business. And they're usually migratable as well. So the output formats you get, be they Gerber files or be they other dimensions, they can migrate into whatever other software packages you'll be using in the professional life as well. So you've got access and control to your work. Alongside that, though, we've got loads of great learning content and loads of great projects and information sources. So like Isabella and Kudzai were just talking about, on Design Spark, you will find competitions. A lot of the grassroots competitions that we run are hosted on Design Spark. You can read all about them if you just look up our competitions area. You can see the types of entries that we get in. We've had competitions that ran last year all around how to connect community and help people cope with isolation. We also, for younger audiences, ran a brilliant engineering competition, just trying to stimulate ideas, things that people can do to with their kids to actually think about their creativity during lockdowns. So lots of opportunity to get involved and share content, share creativity and ideas, but also to learn as well. We've got some great learning content. We work with all of our suppliers from the RS world, over 2,500 of them. And they provide us with some really great in-depth learning content, how-tos around protocols, around applications, around how to use products successfully in more challenging environments as well as how to adopt a piece of kit within your future product development cycle as well. So some suppliers give us access to some of their own in-house learning materials because they're keen to put them in front of as many young engineers as possible so that they can understand what the potential is and the possibilities are. And of course, they're also looking at what people do there. They're looking at what people are doing with their products, and they will come and talk to you individually as well. And you may well find yourself receiving calls from people in some of the leading suppliers into the industry who are really fascinated by what you're doing and want to work with you on those projects as we move forward. So there's loads of opportunity through Design Spark for people to really understand how they can develop themselves, how they can build their reputation.
Yeah, no, quite. And the other thing that I can't help but think about from a young person's perspective is, you know, all those times when you're talking to a prospective employer, or you're looking for a placement or a work experience, and you're trying to explain to them what your technical projects have been. Well, there's another beauty of Design Spark. Instead of trying to explain it, show them. Put your content in there. Yeah.
Show it, create the video. Yeah, absolutely. Create the video. Show your potential off, because there's loads of great case studies out there of people who've been able to use platforms like Design Spark, create that content, and that creates such a buzz around them as a person as well as the project.
Yeah, absolutely. Gives you the little edge, makes you sparkle a bit more.
Yeah, the Engineering Edge, which, Seamless Link, is a podcast series that we have out at the moment.
Look at that.
I think, Mike, I'm a huge fan of Design Spark, and I think the feedback I've gotten from a lot of educators and students has been really great. I think the sense of community and being able to find everything linked to a particular technology, or whether it be a technology theme or whether it is like a specific product, is absolutely fantastic. It's probably worth also calling out that in terms of building a body of evidence, so let's say for a student, for example, building a body of evidence of their technical writing and everything else is really great. And I don't know, whether you wanted to touch on some of these student article series that I've seen there, where the likes of, is it Glasgow Femenge, who are doing a nice little series? Taught me how to use an oscilloscope.
No, absolutely. So our an awful lot of the grassroots education programme is heavily underpinned by, as Tim mentioned earlier, diversity and inclusion. You know, I think we all know that the engineering industry needs a bit of a shake-up, with a vast cohort of young people coming in from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and that's something that we pay a lot of attention to through our grassroots work as well. And actually through that have come some really interesting little opportunities, like the Femenge Student Society. So they're a bunch of young ladies studying electronics engineering, and they suddenly became quite conscious of the fact that they were in the minority in the lab, and they wanted to help future female engineering students going into the lab to feel more comfortable with it, and to feel more comfortable with the tools that they'd be using there. So we worked with that student society to create a little series of content of, as Kudzai says, the young ladies in the lab using an oscilloscope, using various other tools and components that were provided by our team. And it's a really lovely series of content. So really happy to support student ambassadors in universities who are wanting to do something like that to help their fellow students. It's another way that we can get involved with you and support you with some of your little missions there. And I think also, again, going back to that employability point, and it'd be really good to get Tim's perspective here, as an employer looking at bringing some of these young people into the business, what would it do to you if you saw a little repository of technical content from them? You saw that they volunteered for an organiser like RS. What would that make you think of them as an individual?
Well, one of the things that I look for, particularly in applications for apprenticeships, is not so much, like I mentioned earlier, their qualifications, although they are a good indication as to what where their passions lie. But I want to look at what they're doing when they're not at school. So those projects that they're doing over and above really show a future employer, this is where I'm going to go over and above while I'm working for you as well, and that speaks volumes. You can't teach that. You can't quantify that on an application. So I think that's very, very valuable.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And the more, again, what we've seen is loads of engagement around, what you'd call social justice style activities, or social improvement activities as well, because there is a growing sense of a need to give back as well, and a need to help reshape in some cases how engineering works, for the benefit of a wider societal group than what it's previously done as well. So we saw great engagement last year on Design Spark through the first stage of the COVID pandemic around the use of 3D printing as a technology. Again, influenced massively by people who've said, I want to be able to help, I want to be able to do something useful here, and I put my engineering skills or my enthusiasm to good use. And I think the more that you can do things like that through whether it's Design Spark or whether it be through your own university societies, that is only going to help in terms of your future employability, whether that's at apprenticeship level or beyond.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think the little nugget to add there is that you just never know who you're going to meet through some of those opportunities that you can take part in. Could be your next mentor, could be your next coach, could be your next employer. It's definitely worth exploring opportunities around the edges of your studies.
Yeah, I think one thing that we didn't touch on actually, which is probably very important, is because a lot of students are either thinking of obviously getting good jobs, but then the other half of students is obviously thinking about becoming inventors, doing startups and stuff. And I think, is it worth, I mean, obviously all these skills are applicable in both areas, but I guess, Mike, with your innovation hat on, is it worth just talking about how some students can obviously work through Design Spark to develop these ideas and then bring them to us as well? Because we actually do a lot of stuff to support inventors as well. As a big distributor, we have the reach. Do you want to just touch on some of that as well?
Yeah, and again, I'll give some examples of what's happened in the past where people have used Design Spark tools, resources, etc., to develop products. So, we've seen examples of people who've developed products, utilizing the tools and the components that we have within our catalog, and they've come back and become a future business and a supplier to us as well. So people like PyTop, who they built the Raspberry Pi encased laptop for learning as well. So that was all developed on the prototype basis through Design Spark, utilizing some of the code and the information that we put on there. Brought that through, and now we are a seller of PyTop products as well. But from an innovation perspective, we're also massively interested in that because these are the future businesses that we might choose to invest in ourselves. So we're obviously looking for provable business models. We're looking for evidence where we can show that there is market demand that can be achieved through the realization of a concept. But it's a great opportunity for people who are thinking on a more entrepreneurial basis, if that's where their interest lies, that putting this on Design Spark attracts our attention, but it also attracts our suppliers' attention as well. They're paying keeping a close watch on what is happening within the wider ecosystem, the use of their products, because they're also looking at future business opportunities, either as a lead supplier in there or potentially beyond that as a go-to-market route as well. So for both ourselves, RS Components, and our suppliers, all 2,500 of them, there's a big audience to actually play to if you're thinking of trying to launch your own startup, with designing a product or bringing that to market in some way, shape or form.
Well, we shall flash a slide up with all of the contact details and all of the URLs to find out more about everything that we've talked about today.
The one word I would use to describe my experience today, two words, life-changing. It really has got to me. I really like what I've heard about, and they gave me ideas of what to do in my future and how I could change from the past and reflect on the bad stuff and make good stuff about it.
It was pretty much around addressing a need. Young people seeing the opportunities there are for them to excel in technology and engineering.
The opportunity here is these kids are going to grow up to be something. And when you catch them from an early age, you can shape them to mold the society that we're trying to build. So for organizations coming forward in the future, this is a great foundation for building the next generation of careers and people that we want to occupy and live in this planet.
I enjoy the motivational speeches. It's worth it. You shouldn't turn down any opportunities because every single day you should progress. Yeah.
I've been watching lots of the things that give me most motivation, especially from T1, because I watch him on Instagram, and to see him, I was kind of starstruck, I'm not gonna lie.
To my colleagues that would be thinking of attending next year, I would say that it would be life-changing, and it's actually helped me out quite a lot because I've realised that for me to be successful in life, I don't have to find something completely unique, but I have to find something where I have that little thing that makes it different to everybody else.
Keep exploring, keep learning your experiences, broaden your mind, and go out there and just drive and keep going for what you believe in.